To this story now, the Blue Army descends on Luthuli House this morning. DA leader John Steenhuisen will lead a march against power cuts, cadre deployment, tariff hikes as well as corruption. The party says it's time to stop the ANC's destruction of the country's energy infrastructure as well as the economy. Our reporter Pule Letshwiti Jones is there and joins us with the very latest. Good morning, Pule. It looks like a great number of DA members have already made their way. How's it looking so far?
Yeah, definitely, Mfundo. We've seen some of those who are supporting the DA making their way here, who will of course be marching to the ANC's headquarters, being Luthuli House. As you can see, I'll step out of shot so my colleague Teddy can just give you a look at what's happening. This, of course, comes as to how the worsening energy crisis has continued to rile South Africans in a wrong way, with many having hinted a possible shut down and march to the presidency's union buildings. But of course, today what has now happened is that following the South Africans, seething and then demanding for answers, the DA has decided to now march to the ANC's headquarters. Now, this is not the first time. History will tell you. Remember back in 1994 with the eNCA Freedom Party having to march to the Shell House then of the ANC, the CBD, which was a tragic incident that led to about 19 lives. Following that, in 2012, of course, you remember the DA marched to COSATU's Federation House, and also that didn't end well with the union throwing rocks at the Democratic Alliance. In 2014, the DA also continued again to march to Luthuli House, this time around demanding that there be a creation of jobs. Then there was that tragic incident that took place in 2018 where the Black Land First movement marched to Luthuli House. It didn't end well as well, where they were met with fists from some of those from the ANC. Now, there's also been remarks from the ANC Youth League, with many saying they will be directing the DA today to the union buildings. But to, get more reaction regarding this, I'm speaking to, of course, the DA's Siviwe, who joins me now. Thank you very much for speaking to us, Siviwe. One would want to understand today that what is the basis of this march? Why are you marching today?
Look, we're marching today because we have seen unprecedented levels of continuous blackouts, and we're not going to call it load shedding, because ultimately this is what we have here today is not load shedding in South Africa. We have got blackouts in the country which are continuing to basically put the state of our economy on its knees. What we are simply saying to the ANC is that, one, this is an ANC manufactured problem. Because if you trace back to the past decade of Eskom's problems, they can all be traced back to Luthuli House, whether it was through cadre deployment policies, whether it was through appointments which were made, whether it was through the investment company, Chancellor House, where it was a major shareholder in the refurbishment projects of Kusile and Medupi. The reality here, Pule, is that there's an intrinsic link between the way that South Africans are living now and how the ANC has handled this power utility. So we're saying today, one, this is a problem you've caused. Number two, we can't go on like this. Jobs are being lost. People are being shoved straight into poverty. And number three, there are solutions in place, which we've tabled in Parliament, which we've shared with the various ministers, which you can implement now so that you can really relieve people from this kind of blackouts we are seeing.
Many are asking that there's some sort of a solution that's currently happening in the city of Cape Town, where you're trying to sway away from the national grid as well. You're currently governing the city of Tshwane and, of course, city of Johannesburg through a coalition agreement. Isn't there a way for the DA to come up with ways and learn from Cape Town to say there's less complaining and more implementation?
Absolutely. Look, the reality is that what we're seeing with Mayor Jordan Lewis doing in Cape Town is finding innovative ways to try and make us less and less reliant on Eskom as a power utility. Because ultimately, we believe that the business model of Eskom right now is unsustainable. And the only way to bring about proper relief is if you break up the utility, allow independent power producers so that we can start to see South Africans really getting relief from load shedding. And as it comes to our coalition government, of course, that is one of the things that we would love to implement where we govern. But of course, these coalition governments are difficult. We've got to take a lot of partners along with us. And of course, because of the nature of the numbers in coalition governments, even on Thursday, we are facing a motion of no confidence in Mayor Pule Letshwiti. And so these are some of the things that are hampering us from being able to do the innovative things that we want to do, like we are doing in the city of Cape Town and in Midvale.
I'll come back to the Pule Letshwiti issue, but just maybe on the issue of load shedding still, there's been some criticism regarding the DA's look at load shedding and ESCOM as a whole, and especially when failing to critically assess the current leadership, including that of the outgoing CEO, Mr. Director. What's your response to that?
Our response is that, first of all, we've got to take the problem to the source. And that's why today we've got thousands of people here, not only just DA supporters, who are taking it to the source. Because Pule, ultimately, the reality is that people have said, march to Megawatt Park, march to, the offices of ESCOM, berate Andre Director. He's only but a symptom of the problem. There's no exemption of one person. The source of the problem here is simple, that the ANC has misrun ESCOM. They've stolen money that was meant for maintenance, and now we are in this place of crisis.
Won't this provoke political tensions marching to Luthuli House, looking at how, previously things have been so sour? Remember in 2018 what happened when the BLF went there. In 2014 or 12, I stand to be mistaken, you marched to Luthuli House as well in an aim to have more jobs created. Won't this spark political provocation?
Not at all on our side. Our supporters are disciplined. We are there. We are marching peacefully. We've gotten all the relevant permissions from law enforcement. Law enforcement is here. We've got marshals on our side. Ours is a peaceful march. Simply to say to the ANC that you are the cause of the problem, but you also possess the solutions to take South Africans out of this crisis. Do that. Because if you don't, the 50% South Africans who are living in abject poverty now, that number is only going to climb as more and more businesses are starting to let go of workers. The fact that 7 out of 10 young people are unemployed, that number is only going to increase if you don't fix the problem now. It's an emergency, and that's what we say. But we're not provoking anyone, and it would surprise me that in fact the ANC would even see it as a provocation. There are no no-go areas in South Africa, Pule. We're in a constitutional democracy. We've applied for permission. We're marching to a place that has been determined by the JMPD and the SAPS, and we're going to be disciplined.
Okay, so lastly, Pule Letshwiti's future once again under the spotlight, possibly facing a motion of no confidence. The PA says they will be supporting the ANC. I know that some of the DA's top leadership, Ross, is here in the city of Joburg today. Is there going to be a meeting? Are you in talks? Are you contacting or speaking to other political parties as well regarding saving her job?
Absolutely, and it's not about saving Pule Letshwiti's job per se. It's about saving the residents of Johannesburg, Pule. And we have been absolutely committed to making the Johannesburg Coalition and the other Gauteng Coalition governments work. Because for us, we know that if we hand back a municipality back to the ANC, it's going to be the same corruption, it's going to be the same kind of looting, and it's going to be the same breakdown in basic services. What we are wanting to do is to stabilize those governments. We're in talks right now to try and obviously salvage a situation where the PA has been an unreliable partner, unfortunately. They walked out previously, and continuously we've been having talks about how do we make sure that we've got stability so we can begin the work of actually delivering services to the residents of Johannesburg.
Are you also speaking about how you'll be fixing your coalition, communicating strategy, because the PA has accused you of not wanting to listen to other parties but wanting to have some of these strategic positions as well?
Look, the reality is that we have got a coalition body that manages coalition, which is a multi-party one, that is effectively does make all these decisions, and that some of these decisions are reached, and many of these meetings run it this late into the night. But it would be unfair to label as the DA as an unwilling partner when we've in fact made concessions after concessions to try and make these coalition governments work. Because ultimately for us, it's not about the positions, Pule. It's about whether or not can we materially make a difference in the lives of the people of Johannesburg, eTshwane, and Ekurhuleni.
Sifuwe, thank you very much for joining us and all the best today.
Thank you very much.
Well, that was Sifuwe from the DA joining me right now, Mfunda, particularly speaking to us about the safety of the marchers who will be here today. I'm going to ask my colleague Teddy if that's possible to try and just show you some of the marchers who are here today from the DA who are joining us and speaking to us. I'm going to try and unmount so we can go in the crowd and speak to some of the supporters of the DA regarding today's march and see how they feel. Apologies for the shaky visuals, but I just want to go inside and step in and perhaps speak to them this morning, and let's get a reaction as to how they're feeling this morning. So thank you very much for being here today. You're of course joining the march to ANC Luthuli House. How do you feel?
I feel great. I think it's a wonderful thing that everybody's doing here today. Really appreciate it, really, very much.
Load shedding has been a problem for many South Africans who are still, saying nothing has been done to attend to this worsening energy crisis. Are you amongst them who are saying that?
It's really terrible, and the people don't deserve what's happening to them. They don't deserve to be in this situation, and something's got to be done about it.
Right, all the best. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll continue to speak to some of the guys as well who are joining us. Baba, thank you very much. Load shedding is a crime.
Load shedding is a crime.
Why?
Yeah, because we can't live with this crime, because load shedding people, we can't live without electricity.
Thank you very much, sir. Well, Mfundo, there's some of one person calling me as well. Yes, sir, thank you for joining us. You're here this morning. Why are you marching to the ANC's headquarters?
Pule, I represent an organisation called About, a concerned residents group from Alberton. Today we stand in solidarity with the DA. We're tired of the nonsense. We're overpaying for everything. We're tired of the load shedding. It's ruining our infrastructure. Our substations are falling apart. The system can't handle it anymore. The country can't handle the ANC anymore.
I think it's high time that there be some sort of accountability and some sort of measures taken into place.
It's unfortunate that the rot stops from the top. And if there's no accountability at the top, no measures that they put in place will actually come to fruition. So yes, accountability needs to be a key factor in what happens. And the only way we're going to get this thing right is if we all stand up together, regardless of political affiliation.
Are you happy with the approach? Many are saying this is a political approach. Would you have wanted many South Africans to join the march independently so addressing this issue?
I think the problem is with South Africans in general. Unfortunately, we don't come together independently. And so it's up to organizations like political leaders, etc., to try and bring the people together. So like I said, I'm non-political, I'm an apolitical movement, but I'm standing in solidarity with the DA. And I just wish more people would get involved and stand in solidarity. Because the only way you can create a revolution is when everybody stands up.
Get your name and surname again?
It's Michael Hume from About Action Group.
So thank you very much for joining us. Well, that's the reaction from the ground right now, Fundo. We'll continue to be speaking to some of those who are marching to the ANC's headquarters from the DA this morning, and hopefully law enforcement will ensure that safety measures are put in place and that everyone is protected.